Welcome to the Refine and Shine, the podcast dedicated to mastering the art of continuous improvement and optimizing every aspect of your life. I'm Angelina Rivera, your host, and together we'll uncover the secrets to refining our lives, our habits, and our processes to unlock our inner brilliance. Join us on Refine and Shine, where we'll delve deep into achieving more in life without the burnout and without all the stress. This podcast is your platform for a more fulfilling life through continuous improvement and personal growth. In each episode, I and a diverse array of guests discuss practical strategies for up-leveling every aspect of your life. From developing good habits and organizing your space to refining your mindset and personal goals, we're going to explore it all. Our guests share personal stories about the systems they've developed or systems they've used and the tweaks they've made in their lives when refinement was needed, allowing them to truly shine. Listen to Refine and Shine to learn how you can implement continuous improvement techniques in your daily routine, develop and maintain healthy habits that lead to success and satisfaction, organize your life to reduce the stress and increase your productivity, foster a growth mindset that propels you to new heights. My mission is to inspire you to take bold action, make positive changes, and become the best version of yourself. Whether you're aiming to elevate your career, nurture meaningful relationships, or enhance your overall well-being, Refine and Shine is your guiding light. With over 25 years of experience in continuous improvement, I help businesses streamline their processes, establish efficient work areas, and implement standard work protocols. I have trained over 600 individuals and teams in process improvement, optimizing workflows, and enhancing overall operational efficiency. Tune in every week as we embark on an enlightening journey, exploring paths to refinement and illuminating the way to shine in every area of our lives. Subscribe now and join us on this journey to polish your life and let your best self shine through. Thank you for joining us on Refine and Shine. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another amazing episode of Refine and Shine podcast. I'm super excited about my guest today. And we have been in the same circles, but we probably have never don't recall actually meeting. And that's the beauty of social media. That's the beauty of having a podcast, is that you can network with people that you didn't even think you'd ever network with. And so I'm super excited about my guest. We actually grew up in the same town. I was born and raised and lived in this town for 15 years of my life. But my guest today is Brandon Baily. He grew up in Barstow, California. And 4 years ago, him and his family relocated to a community just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. He has dedicated 26 years to teaching at the public high school level, which major props to that. He is married for 19 years and is a proud father of 3 young adult children. His journey into holistic health and natural powders began more than a decade ago, rooted in his deep concern for loved ones undergoing severe health challenges. In January 2012, when his dear friend Konrad Miles was diagnosed with brain cancer, Brandon began an intensive personal mission studying books, attending holistic medicine conferences, and researching natural anti-inflammatory foods and spices. Unfortunately, Konrad passed away in July 2016. During that same period, Brandon's mother was diagnosed with ALS in 2015, and she passed away in April 2017. On the day of Konrad's passing, his twin brother, Casey, also a close friend to Brandon, received the same devastating diagnosis. 9 years later, Casey continues to fight. Working side by side with him, Brandon dedicated years to researching, analyzing scientific literature, and refining the accumulation of their efforts an anti-inflammatory spice blend. They also developed nutrient-rich fruit and vegetable powders designed to support the body's natural defense against disease and inflammation. Today, Vitality Blends represents over 10 years of Brandon's holistic research, teaching, and mentorship. His mission is clear: to share what he's learned and help anyone seeking a different perspective on life, healing, and well-being. Well, thank you, Brandon. I really enjoyed everything that you put together, and so thank you for being a guest today.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time.
I think what's amazing about what we talked a little bit off air before we started recording, is that when he
when somebody on social media, which my cousin's wife shared on social media, that you created this brand. And I was like, well, let me look at this, this new product, this new company launched. And I clicked on it, and right away I could resonate with your mission, because your mission and what you talked about your company. I knew Konrad, I knew Casey. I mean, I know of Casey, but I was really, really close to Konrad. Konrad was a personal friend of our families. And then I know, your wife, I'm sorry, your sister has posted about your mom and the memories of her and all the things, and just
Right.
how you did this research and you were able to find a solution to helping. And what I want to tell my listeners as well is that it just didn't come overnight. Like, you spent years and years of researching, but your knowledge, your education is not in medicine. It's not in scientific background or anything like that. You teach German, French, and I forgot what the other language was,
And also Spanish.
and also Spanish. And here you are as a German, French, and Spanish teacher who's taught for 26 years, like, spent 10 years of your, also on top of teaching, you have, in raising your children and, being a husband, decided to put yourself into this research. So tell me a little bit about that and what made you decide to do this.
So both Casey and Konrad, as you've mentioned, were in my classes when I was teaching at Barstow High School. And their mother had reached out to me at one point because she needed somebody to, watch over her twin boys. And as it would have it, I really took Casey and Konrad under my wing. Casey, is still alive, thank God, and he is my best friend. We developed from a student teacher relationship into, the realm of, our families are very tight knit today. And something that happened is that got me thinking about we need to figure out how we can help ourselves health-wise, because you can't always depend on the medical system that we have in place in the United States. And a lot of my curiosity was piqued when Konrad was diagnosed with brain cancer. He was diagnosed with an oligodendroglioma, and that is something where two different types of cells in your brain, they kind of get mixed together. And so he had two cells that were growing erratically in his brain. And originally, he did have surgery to remove about, maybe 90% of the tumor. And he did not want to do the standard chemo and radiation therapies, just knowing how detrimental that is to our immune system. And so what ensued from that is I began researching clinics in Germany. I researched clinics in Mexico. And what I had found in my research is that a lot of the therapies that were available in our country in the 1920s, 1930s, more holistic in nature, they had all been shut down. And a lot of companies that did alternative medicine, they moved to Mexico. They moved to countries in South America. They've gone to Canada. I was searching everywhere where I could find a place to get my friend Konrad to. We were gonna go down to Mexico. We looked into immunotherapy. We looked into the Gerson Clinic. He's a guy out of San Diego that it's all juice based, where you just drink juice for weeks on end to cleanse your system. There's the Buddhist diet that comes from a clinic that's in Germany. I actually looked into trying to figure out how to get Konrad over to Germany so he could do the 6-week protocol. And a lot of things it just wasn't feasible. And so I started looking into the the clinical research behind the Gerson Clinic and behind the Boudica protocol, and was trying desperately. I have a heart connection to Casey and Konrad, and it was my mission, barring a miracle from God, we've got to find a way to help them. And so I was able to attend a holistic conference. It was in a hotel in San Diego, California, and it was a 3-day conference. And that is where I first got my start in meeting doctors who were practicing outside of the standard medicine and began to look into Eastern medicine and into things that were coming out of Africa. And so I went to a presentation by a doctor. His name is Dr. Sunil Pai, and he runs the Sanjeevi Clinic in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he explained in layman's terms how 90% of all things that are wrong inside our body are caused by some sort of inflammation. And what really just opened my eyes to, it was like a rush of just, oh my gosh, what are we doing as a country? What are we doing as a medical industry that we're killing people? We are actually just putting poison in many different forms. And the pharmaceutical industry, you cannot patent a plant. And if we could ever figure out how to harness the power of God's creation, I mean, we would not have half of what is wrong with us today. And one of the most telling things that made me even want to dig is because Konrad, when he was doing treatment, I went with Konrad to every single one of his doctor's appointments. When he had a scan, I was there. I met with the doctor. We reviewed it, and he allowed me to be present for his treatment process. And Konrad had asked his doctor, would he be able to get a medical marijuana card so that he could begin using marijuana? And the doctor said, I could give you one, but I would rather give you a prescription for whatever the name of the drug was, because it had the same chemical print as marijuana. But it was a fabricated medicine where they took the chemical makeup of what marijuana would be, and then they made a pharmaceutical drug out of it so that it could be under prescription. And I thought, you know what, dude, this is not right. Mm-hmm. So that all in the same time was during when I went to this conference. And Dr. Pai, explained how we take medicine, even over-the-counter medicine, like you think of aspirin, you think of Advil, you think Excedrin, all of those things, what we take for heartburn, what we take for everything is all some type of thing that was once a prescription style, and now we've made it over the counter. And he let us know that it's got a mark on it. It's got a black flag type mark on it, and you'll see it if you look on any of those things that you buy. It's called NSAID, and I don't remember what the acronym NSAID stands for, but it is on every pain pill that you will take. And he explained what happens is the drugs are manufactured in a way so that it shuts off our pain receptors. So it's all in our brain. And so when we have a headache and we take Advil, that Advil will turn off the pain receptors so that we are no longer feeling the headache. and used in small doses is not necessarily a bad thing. But people with chronic pain who are using Advil all the time, it will destroy their liver. I have a cousin, Brandy Wellinger was her name. She's the cousin of my cousin. And she passed away from liver complications. And one of the reasons is that she had taken so much ibuprofen to deal with whatever medical issues she had that she ended up passing away because of the damage that it had done for her liver. And that's kind of like a side story from the studies. But Dr. Pai, in his talk, explained to us that what he uses in his medical practice is Ayurvedic medicine. And for those who don't know, Ayurvedic medicine comes from the country of India, and in that area in Pakistan and Afghanistan. And if you know Indian food, Indians use a lot of turmeric. They use a lot of ginger. They use a lot of spices in their everyday cooking. And because it's in their system, morning, noon, and night, as part of whatever it is they're eating, there are a lot less indices of things like cancer and things like arthritis and those chronic illnesses that we have because of the spices. So then I got thinking myself, I grew up in Barstow. Where's the first place I eat?
Del Taco.
Del Taco. We don't put turmeric in our burritos. And I'm thinking, why would I eat this stuff? Ginger, I drink ginger ale. And so I started to think of, well, these people are doing something, and this is not in our diet. And of course, Dr. Pai had a pill to sell. He called it, what he sells is Bosmeric SR, and you can order it from his site. Just Google Dr. Pai, Sanjeevi medicine. You'll find it. Good product. He had turmeric and ginger and boswellia root. And boswellia root is frankincense. And then the black pepper, because your body absorbs more of the curcumin in turmeric when it's coupled with black pepper. And I bought as many of these bottles as I could. I found everything at that conference, and I was just making a gift bag for Konrad. And then I looked at the price tag and I was like, I can't afford $1,300 a month to make sure he's supplied with all of this stuff. I went and talked to Gibby Senna, because Gibby Senna was, Konrad's father at work when he was working there. And I was putting together a plan of people who, if we could all just contribute a little bit of money, we would be able to keep Konrad on a natural supplement diet to help him fight this cancer. And for whatever reason, I got an idea in my head and I thought, these are spices. I can find these spices and I can make my own blend. So I was living in Temecula at the time, and we had a spice shop in Old Town Temecula, and I went there and I gave the lady the list of the ingredients that I knew was in the pill. And then I had decided I might want to Google what other spices are good for inflammation in the body and what has anti-cancer properties that really help. And so I landed on a blend where I have included turmeric and ginger, cumin, cinnamon, boswellia root, cayenne pepper, and black pepper. It's 7 ingredients, and all, in measurements where it has its most effective. And I began just making this at home, and I would keep Konrad supplied with enough where he could take it 3 times a day. It's kind of like, the principle of when you have antibiotics, you keep it in your system. And, he used that for 2.5 years until, he had a recurrence of brain cancer, and that's what took him. And then when Casey, on the day Konrad passed away on July 3rd, Casey went to, I'm sorry if I get emotional, just
Okay, I get
it hurts
emotional
my
too.
heart. He went to have his first brain scan. And from that brain scan, he was diagnosed with brain cancer, just like his brother. And that just, it shattered my heart. And I just thought, there, look, I was like, God, you got to help me with this. And that's when Casey and we read the book Anti-Cancer. Um, I can't remember the author's name, but it was a French doctor who also was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And because of his position and where he was in life, he was able to do research. And he published a mound of research in this book where they tested the essence of vegetables. And the information was amazing. Like if the darker the vegetable, the better it is for you. The colorful it is, the hotter it is. We're thinking like, um, peppers. There's the thing called capsaicin in peppers, and the hotter it is, the more anti-cancer properties it has for you. And so he and his friends in this book, um, they tested broccoli and all of the vegetables we eat. And they found that the properties inside these vegetables murder cancer cells. So I read this book. I showed it Casey. I mean, we did all of our research. If you don't know my buddy Casey, he will go down any rabbit hole. I mean, he could probably tell you who assassinated JFK. He knows so much. And I thought, if I just pique his interest, he will do almost all the research for me. And so we worked with each other. We read, we met. When I say met, we learned of a guy named Chris Wark. I believe he lives still in Memphis, Tennessee, but he has his own handle now. He has a website called Chris Beat Cancer, diagnosed with colon cancer at the age of 26, had the surgery to remove the tumor, changed his diet, and he posted his protocol. He has a book called Chris Beat Cancer, and he's got his website. Introduced to Ty and Charlene Bollinger. I believe, are out of the state of Georgia. They have an entire series called The Truth About Cancer. I have interviewed cancer survivors with doctors from researchers all over the world, and you can actually access their information. They go through the history of how our medical industry was destroyed early on to be supplanted by the pharmaceutical industry. And they have a wealth of information about all different things. And so Casey and we probably comb through 50, 60 hours of information from Ty and Charlene Bollinger, and we just began to build an arsenal of information to cross-reference everything we could. And outside and in that is where I developed this anti-inflammatory powder, which has the most potent spices and herbs in it that are good for your system, that are supposed to reduce the inflammation in your body. And Casey has been taking this for the last 9 years. He does other things that are all natural in his protocol, and he's going strong. Brain cancer is not for the weak hearted, and he has been fighting and fighting, and what he's doing has helped him maintain and continue to live as long as he has. And I just decided that I do this out of a love for my friend. And the way I arrived at maybe starting a company and trying to bring this to others is back in California. Uh, I have a friend of mine who I taught with, and she shared with me one day that her son was having some issues, and they thought he might have testicular cancer. And the boy was maybe 18, 19 years old, just graduated from high school. And I just was like, there's no way. And we got to not do this. So the next day I come to work and I brought her, I made some more stuff and I brought this to her and I said, listen, I've got a friend that I make this for who has brain cancer. And I said, I just want you to have this. Just tell your kid, take this. I said, he might not like the taste. I said, it's pretty spicy. It might burn his throat a little bit, but make him do it. And she did. And it turned out, thank God, that her son did not have testicular cancer. Fast forward to, what are we, 2025? December of 2024. And I saw, I keep in contact with my friends from California. Obviously, we're all Facebook buddies. And my friend, Denise is her name. She and four of her girlfriends came to Nashville to celebrate her 50th birthday. And it was one evening that I was on Facebook and I saw her post, and she's like, I'm in downtown Nashville celebrating my 50th birthday. And I'm like, what? I'm 20 miles down the road from you. So I messaged her on Facebook and I said, how dare you come to Nashville and not tell me you're here? And then I thought, I think I have her phone number. And so then I called her and I said, excuse me. And so she's like, hey, we've got dinner reservations downtown. And she's like, why don't you join us? So I was like, okay. So I went down there, met up with them. I taught with all of them, and it was a good reunion. I hadn't seen them in about 3.5 years. And she reminded me that, hey, you gave this to my son. And she says, you cared. And she said, I just want to thank you again. And she's given me a big old hug. And then one of the other teachers was like, well, what is this that you make? And so I just started sharing. And one of them looked at me and she's like, well, how come you're not selling this? And I thought, I don't know. um, so that's when I thought, like, maybe I could do something with this. And that process started in January of this year. So we're 6 months into January. And I what I did is I made some more of the powder, and then I gave it to some friends of mine. We have a guy, Jerry, in our Bible study group, and he was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I said, Jerry, can I just give you some of this powder? Will you take it? And I said, I'm praying that it'll help you. I said, it's supposed to reduce inflammation in your body. So he's been taking it, and I gave it to another person at work, and I just started putting some feelers out. I have a couple of buddies that I play an online game because I do something to while my time. And so we've got a little group on there. It's kind of like, Clash of Clans, but not. And, you meet people. And so I've got a buddy in Pennsylvania who I've sent some to. I've sent some to his mom, just some different people in Florida and things like that, just to help them decide, like, maybe I can do something different. And I've gotten really good reviews. My buddy in Pennsylvania, he's trying to get off ibuprofen, and he has been able to wean himself off of that. I've got another friend of mine who has arthritis, and I let her have some, and she is now going strong 3 months, and You let me know the swelling in my wrists are gone, the swelling in my feet are gone, my mobility is a little bit better. And it just, it makes me happy to know that I've got something that I can give to other people and it's helping them. I know it has helped Casey. But now I'm finding the pastor at my church, let us know, hey, my wife and I were struggling with arthritis. And then all I can think is like, hey, Pastor, come here, let me give you some of my stuff.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
I want people to feel good. And, I watched my mom. Unfortunately for my mom, ALS is a different beast. And we tried a few things, but there was no beating that beast. And it took her pretty quick, but um I just learned through all of the books I've been reading and the conferences that I've been that we can do better.
Mhm.
And a lot of times it's just we don't know how. And how easy would it be to just go buy all these spices and include it in your diet? And I'm like thinking, what are the things that I don't do for myself because I don't want to spend the time doing that? And so, uh, what is there that exists except when I look at the vitamin industry and the natural healing type things? Everybody's got a powder, everybody's got a cream, everybody's got everything. And I have something too. And the
Mhm.
only thing is I have personal anecdotal proof of the individuals and how it's changing their life. And I decided with my wife and as I'm doing market research that I want to put something together that isn't going to cost people a lot of money. Um, I want to make it as natural and organic as possible. I don't want anything, um, any ingredient that is not going to be organic. Um, and I want to put it together and I want to offer it in a way that is accessible for anyone. Um, the more I work at this and the more I see my wife and I, obviously, we have been taking this. We take it every day, morning, and we do it in the morning. We do it at night before we go to bed because we know it's good for us. Our poor dog Belle, she's 11 years old, and like 3 months ago she was diagnosed with arthritis. Like, you don't think about it, but your pets, they get the same
Mhm.
stuff that we get. And I told my wife, I was like, well, we just need to start giving her some of this. She woke up in the morning and she was rickety and collapsing, and she wouldn't even want to go outside and go pee because it hurt to squat
Mhm.
down. And I was like, okay, babe, let's give this to the dog. And I'm like thinking, so how do dogs, you have to mask everything, shove it inside a hot dog or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so my wife, she got a little bit of chicken salad and she just mixes a quarter teaspoon of our anti-inflammatory powder in it, and the dog eats it. We put it inside a piece of salami and fold it up like a little
Mhm.
whatever,
Yep.
and just she eats it. And we've been giving it to her for the last month or so. And we've noticed marked differences. She's not collapsing anymore. And I told my wife, I was like, we just need to keep giving this to our dog, and we won't have to put her on the medication that the vet is giving her. So um, I'm just excited because I know my friends are having success and it's helping them, and it's bringing them a vitality back into their life that they otherwise wouldn't have. And that is the whole reason that I decided to develop and brand this Vitality Blends. My daughter actually helped me think of it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And so I've got my website up. Inside of that, because of the research that I have done, I know what fruits are good and what vegetables are good. And I've developed a berry powder. I have another citrus energy blend that I've tried to put together for people to stick in a drink, because the monster that you buy is also the monster that will cause you heart arrhythmia eventually in your life. And then I'm working on getting vegetable things together. I want the most powerful things, but I don't want 50 ingredients.
Mhm.
And so I'm trying to narrow a lot of things down. I really try not to have more than 10 ingredients. The berry blend has 11 because everybody should be taking all of these berries. I decided. um, I'm working on trying to do a clean plant-based protein powder that gets rid of the natural flavors. And uh, I want people to be able to have clean stuff and to not worry about where things come from. And so that's where we're at.
Well, you said so many great things, and I just, there's so many things I can comment on. And one of the things is like, I don't know if I shared this while we started recording, but we personally had a personal connection. I personally had a connection with Konrad, working with him, and just remember you guys doing the cleanses. We worked together from the time I started at the base, so 2006 until he passed, and then all the things like his children, see his
Right.
children, all of the things, and then with Casey's father-in-law, I worked with him for a long time as well. And so those all these connections, and so I felt when you got emotional, I felt it too, because I remember the exact day. I remember getting the call. I remember all the
Right.
things, and let me, for my listeners, if you didn't know who these don't know of the Miles twins, they were not they were healthy. Like they are
Yes.
athletic, like Konrad was
Yes.
into wrestling. He was I can't remember what it's called, jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
and on
Brazilian
all of these.
Jiu-Jitsu. Hmm.
Yeah, and were coaches. Conrad was a coach who trained people, taught at the high school, like did all of these things on top of being a mechanic, or and then he went into environmental, but did all of these things. And so what I'm saying, it can happen to any of us, right? And all of
Yes.
the things that we put into our bodies. I loved how you shared that the doctor wants to just prescribe a pill instead of a natural herb that is grown in, that you can grow, the marijuana. And I have done a lot of research. I actually, one of my high school or college papers was to make marijuana legal. And I did a lot of the research on how people, it was just some people who paid to make it say that it was not, it was a bad,
Right.
a drug and all these other things. But I've had a lot of people on my podcast. I've met a lot of people who are into the holistic health and not into the Western medicine, and who feel that, you know, we should not necessarily always go to a pill. And even when we go to a medication, we have to realize that the FDA, when the FDA approves medications for us to take, it's the drug maker, the person who
Right.
invented this drug, who is the one
Hmm.
that provides the studies. And so I have a friend who works for who's the FDA approval. She's the normal consumer who reviews these studies now, and she advocated to have this position because there are so many things that will be put in these medications that say that they're good for you, when studies may exclude um, testimony or reviews or research
Right.
to the general doctor, who may be prescribing a medication to help somebody sleep, and it may be an antidepressant, and they may prescribe them, but it doesn't, but the psychiatrist is given the actual testimony to say that somebody may have an out-of-body experience that can contribute to suicide and all these things.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
another thing is that I found just through all my research and stuff, because before we talked on air, that I've been going through a lot of medical issues. But if you're prescribed a generic medicine, you can't even sue the drug maker, because their research is not included in the generic drugs. It's only for the,
Interesting.
yeah. So there's a
For
lot
the
of
main
things out
drug.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that you shared that you're making these blends. And so I would love to know, I mean, I've been looking at your website. I know that you have the anti-inflammatory blend. And is it just like a little, like you just mix it with water? And make it like a
So
shot, or how does it go?
we the instructions that I give for the customer is mix it with 2 to 4 ounces of water.
Okay.
Um, it it will tickle the back of your throat. I like to take it in a shot because if I have to swallow twice, I'm probably going to be coughing a lot
Mhm,
or burning, and my eyes will be watering. It's the cayenne pepper sorta
mhm,
that does that to you. If you didn't know, cinnamon also will burn.
mhm,
Put a teaspoon of that on your tongue and see what happens.
mhm,
I figured that out the hard way. But my wife and I, we put a cap full of apple cider vinegar in a copper cup. We have some copper cups that we use.
mhm,
And then we put like maybe teaspoon or so of lemon juice. And then we put the anti-inflammatory powder in there. We also put a serving of vitamin C. We use ascorbic acid. So we like to dose ourselves with about 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. We use ashwagandha powder because my wife says that that's good for us. So, all right, wife. So we mix a few other things in with it,
okay.
but I suggest either a little bit of lemon juice and then mix it because lemon juice will help make sure that it's not clumpy. It'll kind of get like a paste.
Mhm.
And then you put a little bit of water in it, stir it with a spoon, and just have a little bit of water next to you, and then take it as a shot, and then chase that back with a little bit of water and get it into your system.
And then with the citrus energy blend, so that's something that you can mix in like a shaker cup or something, and it'll give you the energy
Yes,
that you need.
the active agent in my citrus energy blend is guarana. It's a fruit that comes from Brazil actually, and it has caffeine. Think of it as like a coffee bean. This is also like a bean, but it's a fruit.
Mhm,
And so that's what's in there. And that's more just for flavor because it's citrus, and then I put a little bit of that in there. I use what they call organically natural sweeteners. So I use monk fruit, I use stevia,
mhm,
and I've come across a new softer sweetener called lucuma powder. Lucuma is a fruit that is grown in places like Chile in South America, and they use it down there. I never heard of it, but after researching it, it makes a pretty effective blend of sweetening um, to help things taste a little better. Because a lot of people don't know, but there are a lot of fruits that are very bitter. They're like super good for you. And if you read anything anti-cancer, they will always tell you the bitter, the more bitter, the better. Um, because bitter foods have certain properties in them that have higher cancer fighting abilities. So we've got that. And then I really like the berry blend. Um, I don't know how popular it will be because I mix a lot of fruits together, but um, people eat blueberries and they eat strawberries and they eat cherries. But do you guys even know what a lingonberry is? Do you know what an aronia berry is? Do you know what a bilberry is? A lot of people don't know that bilberry is actually used in a lot of supplements to help with eye health. It's like the number one thing. And so I decided, everybody, you're not going to drop $8 for a carton of raspberries. You're not going to drop, for the cherries or whatever. Like if you were to buy all of these things and try and eat them on a regular basis in your diet, I mean, that's going to be 75 or 80 bucks.
mhm.
So I found a company, Northwest Wild Foods, and they grow all of these berries in the state of Washington, and it's all organically produced. I called the lady up and I said, "Can I have some of all of it?" And I decided I'm just going to put these together, and it's just one more thing that people can take on the daily that will help them maintain their health. It's like you want the good stuff. Well, I like my Del Taco. I'm not going to stop eating it, and they're not going to change their recipes. But what I can do for myself is I can take I can get vitamin C into my system, and I can purposely do things that is going to help my body do what it naturally does and enhance that. So
I love that all the things you shared, and I love that you've sweetened it with all natural sweeteners, because a lot of times when you go out there to the grocery stores and you read and it says, oh, no sugar, and then you see that it has sucralose on it.
right.
Sucralose, people, is not an all natural sugar. It is a synthetic sweetener that actually causes you to have headaches and all the things, which then
Yeah.
if you have the headache, that means you're reaching for the Motrin, which is causing the inflammation, which causes the liver issues. And so that's a really important. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research on, I actually got diagnosed with arthritis in my neck when I was 19, no, 20. I don't know. It was
Mm.
between the 20, 21 and 23, somewhere around that time frame. I was actually pregnant at the time. I ended up miscarrying, unfortunately. And
Oh,
then I
I'm
got the
sorry.
MRI. Thank you. That's why I launched the podcast on the anniversary of the day that my daughter should have been born. But long story short, when that's what they're quick to do was give me Motrin, give me Motrin, give me Motrin, or give me Vicodin, or give me all of these things to help with the, inflammation. And once I started researching, and it took me a long time, about I started researching on like all of these things, the sugar spikes, all of these things, it's actually contributing more to the inflammation.
Hmm.
Even chewing gum, if you look at your gum that you chew, if it has
Yeah.
sucralose and things like that, you should not be, like, we'll get
Right.
stevia, all the natural type sweeteners,
Right.
because then when constantly having that chewing gum and you don't have that gum, you get a headache. And it took me a while to do the research.
Right.
Like I said, I've been researching a lot, and like, how can I make sure that I'm not having all these issues, and all natural supplements, and just not even just buying anything. And when you buy stuff on Amazon, it may not always be what you think you're buying on Amazon. So actually buying directly from the company, which we're able to do with you, is really good, because then we can actually make sure that we're talking to the person, or the person, you're making sure that we're getting a quality product.
Right.
And I love
That
that you've
is
done all
true.
the research.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just, and I'm just I'm just an average person. I never want to, well, I mean, I shouldn't say that I don't want to be famous because
Mhm.
yeah, maybe, but I just, I care about people, and I want people to know. One of the things that I really like, I mentioned Chris Wark and Chris Beat Cancer, is, he put together like a list of 20 things to ask your oncologist if you're diagnosed with cancer. And he said, when they tell you you need to take chemotherapy, you don't have to. You have time. Go home and think. Go home and do research. He's like, you don't have to hook yourself up on chemotherapy next week. And one of the things that I appreciate about him is he says, you're going to be okay. You don't have to believe, get a second opinion, get a third opinion. And it for people to not be scared. I mean, we have been conditioned I mean, we're supposed to trust the medical community. We're supposed to trust our doctors. We're supposed to trust the hospital. They are supposed, Casey, he is a big proponent of first do no harm. Well, what are you doing to me that's causing me harm? And they can't tell you. Um, just one little thing about Konrad, when I learned that Konrad was diagnosed with the second tumor, a glioblastoma, I was with him in that doctor's office, and I looked in that doctor's eye and I said, the radiation therapy that he did 35 days, run right after the other, of radiation therapy. And I asked the doctor, I said, the radiation treatment is what gave him that second tumor. And I could see in the doctor's eyes, when somebody is lying to you, and the little tremble, and you could see the sweat, and the breathing was different. And then he had to say no. And I knew right then that is that's what killed Konrad, is that's what it was. And that is why I really appreciated Chris Wark, when he encourages his people, you don't have to make a decision right away. There's a ton of other things out there that can help people. And thankfully, God has blessed me with friends to practice on. Casey and Konrad let me feed them all kinds of stuff, you know? And I just appreciate the opportunity to be one more person that if I can help one person, it was all worth it, because people matter.
Well, I love all that you shared. I mean, you're doing all of this because you have a heart, and God has put, you're a faithful person, and for those, you have believe in your higher being, and I believe that God wouldn't have put something on your heart if He didn't want you to have this mission behind it. And
Right.
yes, it's been it didn't happen overnight. It took years, a decade of research, or longer actually, because Conrad was diagnosed in what I forget, 2012.
Maybe 2012.
I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
going through all of that, it's been over a decade of research. I know that for sure,
Yes.
because it'll be 9 years this July that he's passed, and you were researching prior to that.
Prior to that. Yeah.
And I love what you said, is that you said that Chris, who beat cancer, shared this, that you can get a second opinion. You don't have to make a decision. And it made me flash back to when my grandma was diagnosed with cancer. Right away, she wanted radiation and chemo. She was 80, I believe 82 years old. And that's
Right.
not something she should have,
Yeah.
her decision, but right, she ended up getting a heart attack and then getting into the hospital. It was all of these things, like it was a plethora of things
Right.
that, and so I love that you share that, because, I go to a City of Hope for some of my treatments because of prior issues I've had. And so I always ask them, what's my options? What's my options?
Right.
But it took me a long time to be able to be an advocate for myself. And I even have a friend who just actually, I'll have her on my podcast. I just interviewed her last week. She even is a pharmacist, and she stopped practicing pharmaceutical and now has become an advocate, similar to what you
Right.
became, just to be that third party. Like, hey, is there optimization? Her goal is optimization, and not thinking that you have to prescribe a pill or this or that. Like, what else can we do? And so I love that I've been able to share this platform using the podcast to share these things, because there's other ways out there. Another thing is, did you know that in the US, we are the only country that allows pharmaceutical advertisement on our commercials? Like, so
That doesn't surprise me. But if you pay attention to the commercial, it'll tell you all the things that will happen to you or could happen to you after you take the pill.
mhm,
That should be warning enough to be like, oh, I don't think I want
mhm.
to take that.
Yeah, like there's the antidepressant that says, oh, it may cause you suicide. If I'm going to take an antidepressant, I don't need to have may cause suicide or may
Right.
cause all these other, or the, diarrhea and all the other things that are.
Yeah.
And so it's like, do your research. And I think that that's so important. And that you are somebody, an advocate of somebody who's done the research. And not only that, has created a product, multiple products. You even have the tropical immunity blend, I think it is.
Yes.
And so, you have 4 different products out there right now, hopefully more. I can't wait for the protein powder, because, as a female who's been through, I was in surgically induced menopause, I need the protein as much. And
Right.
it's so hard to find things that don't have a lot of sugar, or like, I'm thinking I'm going to buy the berry blend, and I'm going to, if I can, I don't know, I'm going to mix it in my yogurt,
Yeah, you can do that.
my Greek yogurt, because I am guilty of buying the raspberries, buying the blueberries, buying all of these things, and then I don't eat them fast enough, and then I end up throwing them away because I don't
Hmm.
eat them fast enough, and it takes too much work. But I want to be a quick consumer too.
Right.
And so if I can just mix these
Yeah.
things into something, build the habit and make it a consistent routine. Like what you said with the taking it in the morning with the apple cider. I do the lemon already. I'll
Right.
just put it all together, take those product, and then I can feel better and do that, don't have to worry about the inflammation that I have I have
Right.
spondylosis in my neck and my back, plus the arthritis, the scoliosis. So I have all of these
Right.
things which are inflammation, and I can help my body be optimized by taking something that's natural. I think that's amazing.
Exactly. That's That's what makes me excited is people who are hurting will know in a week's time, like this is helping. And that's the great thing is that, you know, I know this helps people. I know it does. So hopefully a lot of people will subscribe to this, and together we'll start changing America, you know,
Yes.
one podcast at a time, one friend telling another friend, you know, that's how we create change in our society, is if enough of us start doing something different, then what's wrong in society slowly starts to become right. And that's what we need to work for.
I love that. As we wrap up, I always ask my guest what is one thing that you can do today, what type of action that my listeners can do today in order to refine and shine? Because like what you've done is you've taken, some hard things that you had to go through watching some, one of your best friends, pass away. But all of these things, what is something they can do today in order to refine and shine? Because you've taken a hard thing to shine. So what is one thing they can do?
What I think people like, believe in yourself. God created you with a mind that is much brighter than AI. He's created you with a heart that beats much more profoundly for life than anything. And just take time to stop, to breathe, to recenter yourself, and realize that whatever the chaos is around you, be it health-wise, be it somebody else's health, maybe, the toilet is backed up. I mean, anything. If you just take time to breathe, believe in yourself, and don't feel like you have to have all the answers, and just calmly move forward, it will do a wonder for anyone.
I love that. I love that. That's so good. It's just stop and breathe and pause. I love that. I also love when you said that, our brains are better than AI. We are made, our minds, everything.
Absolutely.
Well, I am so excited for this. I'm so excited to order this product for myself and for my family.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for putting all the work in and just taking the first step to even put it out there. I love that, and it because you want it to make a difference, and I'm just so appreciative of what you've created, and I just want to thank you again for it, and thank you for being an amazing guest. And I will put all the links in the show notes so people can buy this amazing product and follow you to see all the things you create.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Refine and Shine. We hope you find valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey of continuous improvement. Remember, the key to success lies in refining your processes and letting your inner brilliance shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and helps us reach more listeners like you who are eager to refine and shine in all areas of life. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and additional resources and behind-the-scenes content. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to reach out with any suggestions, questions, or success stories you'd like to share. As we wrap up, remember that the power to transform your life lies within you. Keep striving for growth, embracing change, and seeking opportunities to refine your skills. Together, let's continue to shine bright and make a positive impact in the world. And until next time, keep refining and keep shining.